Welcome to season 2 of Your True Awakening for creators and leaders who are done performing and ready to live a life that they already know. I'm Sandra True, and this season is all about one thing: moving from awareness into embodiment, because insight isn't the problem. Most people already know what's true, they're just not living it. Each week, we go deeper into patterns, the nervous system, the truth beneath the surface, and what it actually takes to create a life that feels like you. And I'm so excited for my guest today. Maria Catalina Naranjo is a modern day curandera, a medicine woman. She's also a dear friend. She's devoted to bridging the sacred wisdom of ancient traditions with the consciousness of the modern world. As a medicine keeper and a musician, her path is rooted in service and demystifying sacred medicine, in dissolving stigmas and making these healing modalities more accessible, respectful, and understood by all. She's an educator, she's a sound alchemist, singer songwriter, she's a multidimensional instrumentalist. Through her voice and music, she opens portals of remembering, guiding others back to their innate harmony. Her lineage of studies and devotion include the Inca traditions of Simbundoy Valley and Putumayo, Colombia, known as the belly button of the Amazon, as well as the ancestral wisdom of Peruvian Amazon through the Shipibo traditions and ceremonial frameworks. She also honors and carries teachings inspired by Maria Sabina and Mazatec people of Mexico, integrating these paths with deep reverence and integrity. And I love seeing her work. And she walks the bridge between worlds, holding sacred containers for healing and transformation and remembrance. I would also say Catalina is very much a community leader and is bringing people together. And her intention as a wisdom keeper is to serve as a clear channel and an anchor of healing for humanity, honoring the ancient ways while helping to guide their evolution into today's present ways, using ancient ancestral technologies through sound and sacred medicine. I'm very excited to have this conversation with you about healing versus transformation. Welcome, Catalina.
Thank you so much for that introduction.
Yes. And
I'm
what
very honored to be here.
really honored to be with you, sister. And what I
Mhm.
really desire for this conversation is to explore what it actually takes to live this work beyond ceremony, um, beyond the oh wow, I got this insight, but how do we take it into real life? And
Mhm.
so I would love for people to walk out of this conversation really feeling like their their ignition is on, right?
Yeah, so coming into this work, and particularly plant medicine or any healing modality, we have the privilege and the honor, right, to bask in this beautiful containers, whether it's a ceremony or a breath work, But the important thing beyond that actual time that you're there, receiving whatever healing you're receiving, is the integration, right? What comes after. And I always like to say that the real ceremony begins after the ceremony. And this is where the real work really starts. And this is where we get to embody the teachings and the practical living and the practices that we receive or the downloads that we receive. And it's by actually embodying in the daily practice, in the daily living, the things that we've learned. Otherwise, what happens is that, and we see this a lot as well amongst, the spiritual community, that sometimes we come back for a second time, a third time. We want to keep coming back to the ceremonies, which is beautiful. It's great. But how is it that we're actually taking those teachings and applying it to our daily lives? That's the real ceremony.
Yeah, I love how you speak about this as like, what's the difference between looking at it as entertainment versus looking at it as, for me, it's been like I literally take notes, and those are the things that I get to go home and put into action. I mean, throughout over a decade of working with these plants, for me has been like everything I continue to study and everything that I continue to create has been direct, direct homework in a way, and like the purification of my own energy, and like the things that I've had to let go of, and the things of my ego that is just like, it's just right there, becoming more honest with myself, that it takes action to do things, to purify, to get honest with where I'm in a lack of congruency. What is it for you when you say about, like, it's not entertainment? What do you mean with that?
Yeah. So the entertainment part is like, yes, there's the aspect of the entertainment when it comes to music, and there's a lot of beauty that exudes out of these spaces. But it's only superficial, right? It's the surface level. The real healing and the real work is what's happening inside. It's in the privacy of your own heart. It's when no one's looking. It's when you're all by yourself. This is the real work that we get to do, beyond actually sitting in these kinds of spaces. So I feel that now, especially, we're seeing a lot of merging, right, of the ancient and the modern, and there's a lot of um how do you say, the fashion, right, of the spiritual community, or um more so the fab, right? But beyond that, how is it that we can really bring transformation into our life without it just being like an entertainment, right? It's bringing those practices into your life, like I said, when no one is looking.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
it's in the privacy of your own heart.
It's so beautiful that you say it like that. It's like it's your resonance is like the feel that comes out of you. That's not something anybody gives you. That is something that you align with, that starts to become your song, your own, like the song that you are playing through life. And that essentially is what you do in my language, to clean up, to organize, to create greater order, right? One of my favorite acronyms for God is good orderly direction, God, you know? And it's like, in that, it's like, how do I live that understanding by living in this greater order and greater organization of my own truth? And how do I put that out there, right?
Hmm. I love that you say like that structure, that discipline, right? That it's so important. I'm someone that's very disciplined and structured in my healing and in the spaces that I curate. And I think that it's so important because that discipline, that structure brings safety, and it also brings devotion to your work. When you can really be in that place of alignment with that truth of why you're even doing what you're doing, and having a foundation of intention is also very important, that we're just not healing to heal. And then also there's like this concept that we're always constantly healing, but what if it's not that we're constantly healing, and instead we can be in these spaces celebrating? Does it always have to be healing?
Yep. I think what you're saying is so true, because I think what I see so much when I go into ceremony spaces is that is almost like what I see in life, that people go into relationship in general with all things as a way to extract. What can I get from you? What can you do for me? And they go into this medicines like, heal me, do this for me. When another way of looking at it is, how can I be in greater reverence of my truth through my being, through my actions, and how can I listen better so I can serve these consciousness, these voices of consciousness of Gaia, which I believe are these medicines, that they are like the voice of Gaia moving through us. And we really listen and we really start to pay attention, then we can become the amplification of this consciousness in the planet. It's almost like, and so it's no longer about like, what can I take from you? And like, this addiction to healing is like, yeah, of course there is that, the beautiful, the allowing ourselves to release the energies that we no longer want to carry, but for the sake of creating more, right? For the sake of being better creators, of creating, of like serving life, which is like, there will always be healing to do, but don't get stuck there, because it's like, we're not here to do, like, healing is just like every day. You gotta brush your teeth, okay? It's like, it's a everyday thing. But it's like what I see so much, especially in what you're speaking about, right? Like the spiritual community, is that they start to perform this, and I mean, not they. we start to perform this spirituality, which is like, let me just wear this and do this. But it's just like, actually, the work is to understand that you cannot not be spiritual. You are spirit, period.
Mm-hmm.
Now you get to create yourself in a way that's true to you and in a way that serves life. If you start to listen, like what's the thing that's giving you aliveness and what's the thing you've been ignoring, right? That
Mm-hmm.
you already know. You already know your truth. So how are you serving it? What do you think would
Mm-hmm.
be like the hard truth people are not willing to face when it comes to that? When it comes to like what are they not looking? Like here they going to this big ahas, but they're unwilling to face. What is it that they're unwilling to face?
I think that when we're unwilling to see truth, we're unwilling to heal, because healing is accepting truth, is accepting within yourself more than truth is the alignment, right? Of what we are, how we're living, how we see, how we perceive, how we project all of this. And I think it comes to really being connected to our inner compass, to being connected to our inner wisdom. And truth is connecting to that Wi-Fi antenna that we all have, in our third eye, and just really being able to sit with yourself and see in what aspects of your life need change or embetterment, or whatever the things that come up for you personally. And I think that it's very easy, and nowadays with so much accessible to us, to get lost in translation of what that looks like for us. But and I think you really embody a lot this teaching about standing in your truth. And I think that the truth is being able to acknowledge the alignment you have within yourself, and also the embodiment within yourself of how you actually move forward in life.
Mhm. Which, by the way, is like doesn't necessarily mean easy decisions. I think like the biggest
Mm,
misconception people have when they come into wanting to have a greater connection with their own divinity is that all of a sudden chaos is no longer going to be there. It's like, oh, I'm going to sit with these plants and I want to just, or going to yoga or whatever it is that your own path guides you towards, and you're like, yeah, this is the one way so I can eliminate chaos from my life. And it's like, and it's just like, you just signed up for a ride. It's like, you're going to go into speed mode of chaos because you're signing up to the purification process.
mm-hmm,
And that's like, sometimes people come to me like, I just want to know. And it's just like, actually, these practices and the acceptance is like what you're wanting to learn is how do you learn to be okay within the
mm,
chaos.
yeah.
What do you say? How do you learn? Because it's like you're alive, and like it's you're not gonna stop the seasons of change from because that is life. What do you think?
Mm,
And I'm speaking to you about this because I know your path, It's like we
yeah.
both have to make really hard decisions to honor
Yeah.
truth. Very uncomfortable moving into complete mystery. You want to share a little bit of like what would have been some hard decisions into the unknown that you had to make in order to serve your truth when you started walking this path?
Oh, of course. Yeah. And it was not a walk in the park. Healing is uncomfortable. I think some of the most profound and transformational breakthroughs that I've had in my life, or shifts in my life, have been when I've been in the gutter. It's been in the shit, in the moments that are shitty. And something that I like to share a lot in my spaces is that sometimes the most transformative moments that we can have within ourselves is when we sit in our shit, because shit, if you think about it, it's fertilizer for growth.
Mhm.
So the same way that we feed the plants fertilizer, this is what's going to help us blossom and grow, and in those moments of discomfort. And then I feel like the mastery here is finding comfort in the discomfort, right? And then once you're able to do that, then there's another threshold that you get to um really grow as a person, and master more of that self healing. And what was the other question that you asked?
Yeah,
Because
I'm
I
actually, I would love people. I feel like we learn through story more than, I know I do, right? So I
Mhm.
was actually asking if you can give me a story,
Oh,
like,
yes,
say, like,
yes.
here you are, you're a baddie in business, you know, you're just in corporate America, and and like that transformation of having
Mm,
to move, you start to work a path, and like that misalignment that starts to happen, and like what did it take to continue to honor what seemed for many people, you know crazy, witchy, woo woo out there? Because I know, because I live it, and I've
yeah.
had to handle that in my own.
Yeah, so actually I went from the spiritual path has always been there. It's I've been in this path for 12 years now, and particularly with plant medicines 9 years now. And I had a detour. And in those detours, I did the corporate badass girl, chick, crypto boss babe, if you don't remember or recall, that was one of my past lives, but one of many. But I feel in that moment of exploring leadership in different ways that I am actually very grateful. I don't regret any of my detours at all, because thanks to those detours, I acquired skill sets that really have allowed me to grow community in other ways and leadership and cultivate um leadership in other ways and now in this space. But it really took me to lose it all to have found myself again. And losing it all, as in I lost everything. I had to start from scratch. I went from making a lot of money, working for a company, one of the top distributors in Latin America, made a lot of Bitcoin, lost a lot of Bitcoin. I did all of that. And I learned a lot and it was beautiful, but it wasn't a moment where I lost everything. After Ukraine and Russia declared war, and literally from one day to the next, everything stopped. And for 4 months, I went into isolation. I was living in an apartment with no furniture, a beautiful apartment overlooking the ocean, sleeping on the floor for weeks and weeks and weeks. And during this time, I was revisiting medicines as well, including bufo alvarios and cambo. And in these moments, I'm reminded of my divinity. I'm reminded of what I'm here to do. And music and all of ceremony had always been part of my journey and always been part of my service behind the scenes. And then finally, I think it was right when I met Ryan, my partner, I knew I needed to shift. I knew I needed to almost like reinvent myself. I knew I had to recreate my path, and Great Spirit showed me the path and showed me that I'm here to I was brought back home to what I've always known, and the medicine showed me to be in service and to share these sacred ways to community, and it was the most beautiful gift coming from rock bottom, and then now I'm living my best, fullest life.
Yeah. Talk
Thanks
about,
to
and talk about this recent transformation you've gone through as a mother, like, right? Like, talk about
mhm,
making hard decisions, and like
mm,
showing up and transforming inside transformation. Like, 'cause I've witnessed you go through this with so much grace, with
mm,
so much grace. And so when I'm speaking about, um for people that are not aware, is like transformation is usually the I love the butterfly, right? It's like you go into the goop. You go into, like, it's, you take, and then you don't know what it does. You just, like, like the caterpillar just takes and takes and takes, and then it forms this cocoon, and inside the cocoon it becomes nothing. It, like, literally dissolves into nothingness. And so much of our creation, that's the shit. It's like you're pickling yourself tickle yourself into so much of that in order for the butterfly to emerge. And so that's kind of like what I'm hearing from this story that you're sharing, you know? It very much the same for me. Oh my God. I was like working deep with the medicines. I started, 2016, like deep in the journey, but then I worked nightlife and I made crazy money, like it was like one of the biggest clubs that I worked for doing like EDM music and so there I was like making thousands of dollars on a weekend, thousands and thousands of dollars on a weekend and feeling trapped. But then the medicines are just like, and then I was teaching yoga during the day, and it was like this crazy, I was like, "I'm a drug dealer. Oh my god, these people lose their," and I'm like selling until I became really bad. I was like, "I can't sell you. Please go home. Go home to your wife." But it's so interesting how it takes us into this, like feeling in the goo. Like I was so depressed working
Mm.
nightlife for like the last few years there. And so as I look at your story and like, yeah, you go into this goo, and for me was depression, the image of you being in the floor of a beautiful apartment. It's like you have this much, but there's emptiness, and how many people find themselves with this much, but empty,
Mm.
right? And so, do you want to share a little bit about motherhood and how that has been another uh, chrysalis moment for you?
Yeah, so motherhood was another rebirth. It was another portal that opened for me most recently, and my passage or my rite of passage from maiden to mother was very beautiful, very challenging, but very beautiful. Because in the culture that I come from, women usually have their babies in their early 20s, even like late teens and early 20s. And here I am becoming a mom at 38. So that was one for one. And I think that with age, obviously age is just a number, but a pregnancy comes with more challenges, right? As you get older. And I was faced with, not for everyone, but I was faced with some of those challenges. And now I have a beautiful girl, Luna. She's my teacher. She's my everything. She's my guiding light. And because of her now, I have a new sense of purpose in life. I have a new desire, new motivation, um, a new dream. And it's just to be the best example, the best mom that I can be. And every woman that gets to move through this rite of passage, what I can say is that life can never prepare you. Life can never prepare you there's no training, there's no boot camp, there's nothing that will ever prepare you to only God and like your God given intuition or whatever that intuition is as a mom is going to get you through that rite of passage. I mean, I took birthing classes. I took the moment that baby's coming, all of that out the door. None of that really even matters. So I feel like it's been a beautiful also reminder to me of how little women are appreciated or
Mhm.
mothers, or even like how little support there is or how we don't talk how we should speak more on motherhood and the challenges and find and seek support in community because coming into this I was actually very fortunate to have all those things but like my mom didn't for example and so you see that sometimes women are doing this all by themselves and it really takes a village to bring a baby into the world and I'm getting to witness that firsthand. And to say that my process was challenging, I also wouldn't change anything about my journey. Everything was divine, everything was perfect. And now I get to bask in the love of my beautiful Luna. And it was all worth it. And now I'm ready for, like, after that experience, I was like, I don't want more children. And now in my brain, I already forgot all the bad things, and I'm already preparing for baby number 2.
Well, they say that that's why we fall in love again, because we have it's like how humans are able um to keep making more humans. It's like we forget the heartache of love and
Mm,
we forget the pain of giving birth. Um,
mm,
but you said something really powerful, and I touched on this with you last time we were in ceremony together, and I was like talking to you about how we don't see that in culture enough, like the honoring of the loss of identity
mhm,
from mating to mother, and how not only are you here taking care of a baby that has all your attention and literally is you are the source of its safety and nourishment, but there's also a death that you just went through, and how
mhm,
there's not enough containers to honor and especially in this culture, which is like go 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 fast, you got 3 months to get back to work, and how it really is up to us and to serve that and to pause and to speak about this and bring these conversations into community, because there is a grieving process that happens anytime that we change our identity, that we are jumping a timeline. Oftentimes our growth comes with a lot of grief, and we don't talk about that enough. It's the same thing as like you're making these difficult decisions. You go into a process of transformation or a process of healing, and you say, I want to go into some healing. You're usually going to get to a place of feeling a lot more of what wasn't felt and having to
mhm,
alchemize it. And that process might take you deeper into the underground and or to the shit, right? Like deeper into the shit in order to create something anew. And so
mm,
like that, so that yeah, like it's a huge loss of identity. Also, we're both from Colombia, and in Colombia, like beauty is like physical beauty is above all things the most important thing a woman can have.
mhm,
And it makes me kind of I'm in this process right now of exploring aging, because it's almost like I want to age well. We don't have elders. We don't have people that look like elders because everybody wants to look so young. And I want to make a stand for like there's a different kind of beauty, right? Like, what's a different kind of beauty that is something that we can transform with us as we go through these different cycles of our life, and like, can we have the celebration and the grieving of each cycle and each change of identity so that we can honor our changes physically and also like to carry them with merit, and I don't see models for that outside. I'm not seeing many, I'm literally having to seek them out. Um, but it's something that I witness in us and the women in our community, right? That it's almost like at a really young age, we're starting to walk a path of eldership and of making sure that what we're doing is an embodiment, so that because people are watching and that we can model beauty that is deeper than just what you see, you know?
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally resonate, and grieving has been, going back to the motherhood and then going into this, I can relate a lot to this. Um and I still go through it, the grieving of my old identity before being a mom, right? And then the age, right? This whole thing about the age. Am I too old because I had a baby at almost 40, right? Like, is this is this going to be something that impacts the life of my daughter in 20, 30, 40 years, right? Like, I think about these things, and then aging as well, in our culture. Beauty, like you said, is so important, and I grew up with that, right? Like, the long hair, the perfect lips, the perfect body, the perfect all of this. And I'm not gonna lie, I still can be a little vain. Yeah,
Vanity is important.
yeah,
And honoring our vanity is important too. And
yeah. Yeah, so it's been an interesting, especially now that I'm calling in baby number 2. In my mind, I have this pressure like, oh my God, I need to have baby number 2 before I'm 40, which is literally around the corner. It's like, God forbid, no, I'm not going to have baby number 2 past 40, because then I'm an old mom. And I love that you're sharing what you're sharing because it's so true. Like, why is it a bad thing? It's something we should celebrate. It's something we should embrace. And beauty is something that I'm really learning to carry within myself beyond my looks. And how do I do that? Through my music, through my intelligence, through how I speak, through the wisdom that I can share. For me, that's I'm trying to put more weight and more value to the value that I can offer someone than versus what I can look like. Speaking from someone that did beauty pageants and acting and all of this stuff. I mean, I was in Nuestra Belleza Latina and like all these things 20 years ago. And it's crazy. I'm almost 40 and it's like at what moment did 20s and 30s pass by me? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
At what point? It just goes so fast.
Uh-huh.
So I think that what's important for me now is that I'm present and I feel 20. I'm almost 40, but I feel 20. And yes, I do sometimes aesthetic things here and there, and I'm not ashamed of it. But I agree with you, we should really start to begin to embrace aging in a very beautiful way. Why not?
Well, I just want to say that you're doing a great, great job at embodying the true meaning of beauty. Like really, and especially holding space, like seeing you hold space is what I witness in every person that I admire because of what they open to, not because of what they perform. And there is this level of allowing that it moves through you when you hold space. Um, that it's the work. It's like, how can we clear our channels so much that we can be clean containers for other people? And I think we're so lucky. We have such a strong community of like beautiful sisters here and a lot of people don't have that. But to that are
Mhm.
really modeling for each other. Not that everything is perfect all the time, but that we could be like real and like be in the fuck of it and still have grace and beauty and calmness and be the most relaxed people in the world, not because we are putting it on, but because we come from deep practices. And so yeah, like beauty in that way, I think is so powerful. And that's the freaking work, It's like this is what happens when you don't just go to ceremonies to get excited and do the entertaining thing, but when you go home and you do what you're speaking about, like that dedication, the
Mhm.
dedication to whatever it is that is important to you, that is the gift of God. My gosh, is it your
Mhm.
music? Is it whatever craft? Is like that is like your uniqueness. Serve it. Right, and
Mhm.
oftentimes the purification that we have to do with our energy of becoming more integral is to be able to honor that a little bit more.
Mhm.
But so what do you think integration looks like beyond ceremony?
Yeah, what comes through for me is devotion. What comes through for me is in part of like holding the spaces, right? That you're saying. It's like, how is it that I can move from space to space and still be in that embodiment? And it's through devotion because it's a daily living practice and commitment. Without that discipline, I feel like none of the other things could really exist.
Mm,
Um, and then also music's a big one for me. I feel like music has been the catalyst of opening and closing cycles, my a lot of my purification processes so that I can hold space for others and also for myself and for my family. And then also I feel that what's important is being in harmony with yourself is important, being balanced. Are you taking care of yourself? Because I think that in this space as healers, we're always taking care of everyone else, but we're filling up always everybody else's cup, but
Mm.
what about our own? So a big part, and I'm still learning, you know, and studentry, always remaining a
Always.
student, always. Like
Always.
I'm always constantly saying that I'm a student. I'm constantly learning. I'm a student to the plants. I'm a student to the teachers. I'm a teacher, but I'm also a student to the teachers. And I'm learning when I teach, because I teach music as well. So um I feel like having a really deep connection with music, at least for me and my journey, has been a huge catalyst in me being able to maintain that integration within myself and others, helping others through that channel of music.
Mm, yeah. So what do you think is the difference from someone who is essentially in fixing mode, right? I want to fix mode. You speak about devotion versus
Mhm.
someone who is devoted to their evolution.
Mhm. So someone that's fixing and fixing, it's like a temporary thing. It's not a constant thing. It's like a band-aid. They're looking for the band-aid, right? The next ceremony, the next this. And sometimes that is the beginning phase of the healing journey. At least for me, when I first started my healing journey, a lot of it were band-aids in the beginning. And that's okay too. That's sacred too. Not everyone's going to be ready to dive in into the sacred work all at once, cold turkey, one day after another. It doesn't work like that either. It takes time. We're like an onion, you know. We open up in layers, and this work is very, very layered. And
Mm.
even when you
Sometimes
think you're healed, oh boy, sometimes things, you know, I just came back from Peru. I was in dieta with the Shapibu maestras, and I went over there with like all these intentions and with, with just a different expectation of what was going to surface for me. And what actually ended up transpiring was some healing in my lineage that I didn't even know was there. You would think that a decade in this work, I will have had resolved already all my ancestral things and all. Nope. And it's always like a surprise. So yeah, and I forgot what the question was.
Yeah. Um, I want to ask you the question again in a moment, but you just sparked
Yeah.
something in me, which is like I've been having conversations with my womb, and like, and yesterday I was deep in meditation inside the very fancy sauna. But I was like deep holding my womb and asking it like, what is it that needs to be released? And
Mhm.
and it was like it's grief that has never, and it was like it was giving me the information that it was grief that it was not experienced by me, but that I
Mhm.
carried.
Mhm.
And a lot of my conversations with my womb has been this wow, it's like I'm revealing inside my own podcast. But is this acceptance that there is a desire for motherhood, and I'm 38, and it's just like I don't know if it's motherhood in which way, because I am mothery in every way, and I get to play that role for a lot of things in life and creations that I'm doing. But there's also like this little spirit that keeps kind of poking at me, and she comes to me in the ceremony, and it's like, and it's almost like I kind of never wanted to have children, like I didn't for many years, and now as I'm getting older, and so I was asking my womb, like, is there something that I need to do to keep this garden? And it was giving me information like this, like hearing it from a person of like the important releasing grief, like ancestral grief. And I'm
Mm.
like, "Listen, I've done so much of that work, like, I've literally have sat on the graves of many of my abuelas that my aunts did not know about, that they were there. Like, I've actually gone and spent, like, weeks learning about their story and learning about the patterns in my family and my lineage, and there's still more. I was like, "Huh, interesting," and I froze my eggs the last year, and there was so much of that just wanted to move through me, and it's like we just don't know. A little um a sideway. My question was in fixing, right? It's like we go into
Mhm.
this. How do people know the difference between fixing themselves and then being devoted to their evolution?
Mm. Yeah, devotion, it the word that comes through is disciplined. It's discipline. You know, that discipline is something that everyone's not ready to meet, and
Hmm.
then that's okay.
Yeah.
But what I can say is that when we introduce discipline into the practice, it really accelerates the healing process. It really
It
is a
is a
catalyst
catalyst to
to your
your
change,
whatever.
whatever that change is that you want to bring in. So
Mhm.
I would recommend that anybody seeking that healing, that they really show up fully, not halfway, not only sometimes, come
So-
to ceremony today, but next weekend I'm going to go drinking and do this, that, and the other. And then come back to ceremony thinking that everything's fixed, because it's not an overnight pill, right? And we were discussing, it's a layered work. It's a very deep layered work. And I feel like the best tool that has been really, at least for me, my favorite tool has been journaling. As silly as it can sound, diary, journaling, whatever you want to call it, for me that's been my best friend in whatever I need to transmute, anything that I need
Yeah.
to move through. I'm journaling constantly, or I'm writing music. I'm moving that energy through music, through songwriting, which has also been my most recent and most prevalent methodology for
So
me
beautiful.
in my forthcoming of what's my next episode or season in life, and it's very connected to songs.
Yeah. Oh my God. And I want you to share. I want at the end of this, I want you to share a little bit about what you're creating, which is really exciting. But to what you're saying to this conversation, you follow the root word of discipline is from the Latin root word discipulos, which means to be a disciple of what you love, to be a disciple of
Mhm.
Joshua. And so you want to think about it like that. A lot of people have like a to discipline, but it's actually not to be a discipline of everything that you're told to do, is to be devoted to what you desire most, which is very
Mhm.
different. And fixing, when you're stuck in fixing mode, it's almost like you're trying to cure symptoms. When you are devoted to yourself, you will do whatever it takes to get into greater congruency with your own truth, and you will devote yourself to let that be expressed through you. So, beautiful, because I it's what I witnessed you do. It's like, especially like hearing all the songs that are moving through you is so beautiful. We were speaking about also the importance of what's happening today, right? Like we have this amazing moment in history where is no longer the people who the mystics are the people that go into the monasteries, or the women who are in these women secret societies, or the monks, right? But it's almost like mysticism is now mainstream, and yet there are this ancient path and this ancient technologies that are so alive and necessary in order um, to create something that is an enactment, a pause to be in reverence of something greater that is really important, I believe, in these containers. What is your take on like what's happening right now and the importance of merging this ancient wisdom in a modern way?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I feel like times are changing. They are. They evidently, we saw that just yesterday or 2 days ago. Donald Trump just
I
signed an
know.
executive order for now the FDA to proceed with further studies on entheogenics and psychedelics for medical and therapeutic use. So definitely, whether we like it or not, and then there's pros and cons to this, by the way. And that could be another entire topic. But
Totally. So
um,
you praying that that's not the case, praying that there's
yeah,
some good respect for these lands and where these medicines come from. I know what you mean with that. And
yeah.
also there's more possibility of agency in these ways.
Yeah, so there's different debates that could arise from this, right? Like sustainability in regards to medicines, also reverence and respect to the lineages, right? And to the original guardians, and reverence to where these medicines and modalities come from. But with that being said, I also believe that there's this idea of whether these teachings or these sacred tools, do we gatekeep them? Do we gatekeep them? Or should they be accessible to everyone? And we know that, of course, medicines are not for everyone, but it's going to come to a point where it will be more accessible. So, with that being said, with more accessibility, how do we maintain integral in the ways of the ancient, but also being inclusive to modern ways? As you know, doctors and therapists and psychiatrists and nurse practitioners are now starting to incorporate some of these modalities in their practice.
I'm in deep training for it right now. I'm in deep training because it's like I've been on this path and it's like, gosh, if I could just support someone with opening their heart and feeling like, in a micro situation where it's like, and they have the safety of that container, not only healing but activating choice is what I'm after, and what I feel like
Mhm,
these sacred ancient paths are showing us.
mhm.
And so yeah, so what are your thoughts with that, with it coming more mainstream?
With it coming more mainstream, there's one concern that I have, is that are we taking spirituality and spirit out of the work when it becomes mainstream or medical? And so for me, it's important to preserve this spiritual aspect of the therapeutic or the medicinal use of these modalities, right? Because now we're seeing, for example, like bufo alvarius, an example. There's like the natural, um, organic medicine, but then we also see the synthetics, right? The versions of these medicines, which this can happen with all of the medicines, right? And so when it's synthetic, my question would be not to say that it's good or bad, because I've tried them both and they're both great. They're both amazing. But at what point in modernization of all of these modalities do we lose the essence? That would be my question. Do we lose spirit along the way? So, in my personal experience is when some of these medicines start becoming more accessible, or through maybe lab grown or synthetic route, then the essence of spirit kind of gets removed, right? And then sometimes, for example, in Colorado, it's legal to become a licensed psilocybin practitioner, for example, but they're not necessarily teaching anything spiritual behind the work. They're just teaching you the medicinal scientific part of the work, which is great, beautiful, but that would be my only thing that I wish and I pray, that we preserve spirit and the spiritual aspect of this work as we move into modern age, where we're going to see the merging of all of this work. Do I believe that this work should be gatekept? And with all due respect, I do respect the elders and I respect the indigenous tribes. As long as we're always giving them reverence, I think we're coming into a day of age where there's no more gatekeeping. The world already found out. The whole world already knows what's going on. So now is, how can we move forward with more education? I feel like the the
Super
the
important.
the route, and that's why a lot of my spaces, I'm very big on education and teaching. Teaching is very important, educating, and when people come and sit in these spaces, that they know what they're doing, and that they're just not coming to sit in a ceremony and leave the very next day, that they're coming in with a foundation of understanding where the medicines come from, and that way they can have the reverence and the respect that this work requires.
Yeah, what you're speaking to is so important because it gets lost, right? It's like the moment that we take something and we start mass producing. Right now, I'm like in my kitchen is like a little chemical lab from studying things that were 2,000 years ago, like creating oxymel, which was the tinctures and ways of creating your own probiotic and prebiotic, but it got lost. But there's this ancient information, and yeah, I'm there praying. Not only am I doing this, but I'm there praying that this is going in my body. And the work with these medicines, when we work with these elders, and in my practice, learning from amazing people that I've sat with, is you are there as a conduit of this information. And if you, for any moment, get lost to think that it's about you and that this is, you are the healer, or like you are the great one. It's like the me deceased can really get to people that start working or serving these medicines, and it's not you, and it's not even the mechanism of these molecules, because we produce them in our own mind. Is so much of the healing space is to create safety. And that safety that is created, which we need in order to transform, starts with a container. And that container becomes sacred whenever there is a connection to spirit, a surrender to something greater than we are. And so, if you're thinking about it that way, like for nervous system safety, regulating your nervous system, how important that is in order for us to be able to grow, to be able to have more endurance in moments of challenge. That is the same thing that's happening when you're building sacred containers. You are creating a sphere of protection. And that's the process that's happening when you're working in the spirit realms. And like, when you're working in the spirit realms, there's a respect that goes into what spirit wants to do, and you're presencing it. So much gets lost, and I sometimes worry because I hear people, clients sometimes, that went and they saw this person, and they just, blindly, someone said, yeah, go to this person, and they went to this person, and people have had really challenging experiences because they didn't feel safe. And
Mhm.
so, or they didn't, or like the person didn't have a good energy or whatever it is. And I think,
Mhm.
what is something that, if people want to explore with these medicines, what is something that can give them a little bit of agency, or something that they could be looking for in order to
Mhm.
create, to understand the importance of being in containers that are helping safety and
Mhm.
reverence, and that are in connection to a lineage, because I also believe that's very important.
I the first thing is always do your due diligence, and whenever someone is seeking medicine spaces, and connect with the energy of the person, the facilitator, because I feel that energy is also very important. If you feel the energetics feel good or not, usually energy doesn't lie. And then also, where is their background, their training, who did they study with, or how long they've been working with certain modalities. I think these are good questions to have. I know there's a lot of hubs in the world that are very commercial with some of these, so when it becomes very like a commercial, I always say or think that that's a little bit of a red flag.
Yeah.
And I've learned that the hard way too, because in the beginning, when I first started serving medicine 4.5 years ago, I was very open about it. Now I'm very like, I don't publicly post anything. It's just very word of mouth. And for me now, I'm in a place where I'm only working with people who seek through word of mouth or because they really need it. Because also the medicines are not for everyone.
No, and they call you when you need them.
Exactly. And if there's that calling and there's a genuine intention, also that's a good moment to proceed. But if there's no intention, I hear people, oh yeah, I want to try this, I just want to try it because I saw a podcast and it looks really cool, and like then that's not a good enough on a reason to go sit, for example, with bufo. Oh, because I saw this. I most recently, I don't know, there's this Jeffrey Branson, this guy who did bufo. I don't remember his name. Is that his name? The guy
He's
that does the
a
anti-age,
biohacker guy. Yeah.
the biohacker guy. After that, I've had so many people message me, "Oh, I want to do this medicine, right?" And I have not replied to anybody because I'm like, that's not a reason to come and do that work, because it's a work of a lot of respect. It's because there's really a reason to something to really heal And like I said, also the medicines, they're not for everyone. Are they a powerful tool? Most absolutely. I forgot your question.
Yeah,
What was
but
the
you said
question?
it, right? You said it, which how to do your due diligence. Like we were
Yeah.
speaking about how would somebody find the right person if they're called to it. And so you're now
Hmm.
telling me like, hey, it
Yeah.
needs to be a real calling. Don't do
Yes.
it because of the fad. I know when I started with the medicines, it was like a persistent thing. And I flew to Peru on my own and found I didn't know anyone that sat with the medicines then. Like no, none of my friends were doing any of this. Like I didn't have any friends who were into the medicine journey. I hiked I was that was like Tambo and all the things like out in Pisac following this dreams. And it funny enough, it was it was the path that led me to do what I'm doing today. It's so beautiful, right? Because I was
Hmm.
an actor and I
Hmm.
was like, this is gonna be what I'm gonna be for the rest of my life. Like I was
Yeah.
excited.
Same with me.
No, like for sure. I
Yeah.
had deep, deep shame. I had this deep hurt inside of myself. I needed support, and I did go to the medicines as heal me in the beginning. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
hell.
Yes.
And so I don't think that I said that in the beginning, like what where it gets lost, and also there's a growth process, of course. There's also that what comes to mind as to answer a little bit of the question and give people is like, please allow yourself to find and whatever teacher, it doesn't necessarily mean for medicine spaces, but whatever teacher, whatever doctor, whatever anyone to what Kata is saying, not only feel the energy, but also, do you admire what's happening in their life? Do you feel that what they are emanating is something that you want to emanate yourself? The importance
Mm.
of that. I say that I don't have any teacher and I don't want any teacher in my life that doesn't carry the little bit of a smirk in their eye, like they're inside the joke of God. It's like they have found that touch of paradox in existence, because it's like someone that has that delight of like knowing yes it's hard and it's delicious, and also to have more agency, like no matter where you go, whether that is a doctor, whether that is acupuncture or whatever it is, a medicine space, if you don't feel the energy, even if you already signed up, leave. Leave. Like if doesn't something doesn't feel good in you, and right, we had an experience on our last ceremony. Someone didn't want to sit, and then they ended up not having the great experience because they overrode their intuition. And it's like if it's not, this is what I want to do. Full on, I want to be in this space, or you're doing it because you want to please somebody else. It's like it's not always time for you. It's not always
Hmm.
time for you to really listen to that. Kata, if I was coming to you as somebody that is new to the medicines and say, I just had this big insight and I don't know how to ground it in my life, what do I do about it? What would you say to me?
If someone was asking me how to embody what they just learned, that's a good question. um, so this is someone's like first time sitting with
Hmm.
medicine or
Yeah.
something. Um, I would say that the first thing that this person would need to do is make a radical decision right there and then. And you take it and you run with it. And knowing that whatever that path takes you on is not going to be a straight line, but knowing that it's going to be a greater path because there is now that acknowledgement of whatever you're learning and to
What?
always walk holding God's hand.
Uh,
Yeah. It's,
yes, yes, yes. I second that. My sister is speaking for me.
yeah.
Yes.
And one last thing, and this was a big mantra for me during my pregnancy. I can only do my best, but God does the rest.
Hmm. So beautiful. So beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. I love it. Kata, where can people find you?
So I'm on Instagram.
Hmm.
It's Catalina. It's changing very soon because I'm married now.
Yeah.
But for now, it's Catalina. Ranjo. Catalina Naranjo,
Has
but together.
follow her soon. And I'm
Yes.
super excited. You're working on an album,
Yes.
so that's exciting.
Yes. I am birthing an album. It's been a very slow process. Sometimes I feel so hard on myself because I'm like, why is this moving so slow? But I'm actually very enjoying the whole process, and I'm appreciating the pace that I'm going because I'm learning so much throughout the process. And birthing songs is something that you don't have full control over because the song's gonna come through when it's gonna come through. And there's seasons to it. There's gonna be weeks where nothing comes through, and then all of a sudden I'll have two new songs, and that's how it's happened for the last year. So I'm writing right now a beautiful album that I'm going to be releasing hopefully before the year ends. At least I'll have three songs out by now. I haven't wanted to rush it because I want to be very intentional with
Mhm.
who I work with and how I do it and how I deliver the songs. And the songs, a lot of the songs are already written, but they're still taking form. The songs still have been, with every ceremony, with every different medicine, my songs transform and they change and I adjust and I adapt. So I'm still in that creative process. My most recent song, actually, I recently wrote a song dedicated to women. It's called Mujeres de la Luna.
Catalina, I love it so much.
And this one's gonna be one of my favorite on there. And then I also have Time for Change. A lot of you are familiar with this song already.
So beautiful.
Um, this one actually was the first medicine music song that I wrote like 6 years ago, and I have yet to release it. And everyone's asking
It's
me, when
so
is your
beautiful. Uh,
where's your Spotify? When I'm like, I'm not on there yet,
very
but I
soon.
will. I will be streaming on all the platforms very soon, I promise. And this album is a prayer to humanity. It's a prayer to life, to living life in a ceremony, and to remembrance and invoking the divinity that lives inside each and every single one of us. And that's what these songs are all about.
Yeah,
It's these songs are there to bring you back to you and to connect you. These songs are a channel to source. And people ask me, or tell me, oh, you sing so beautiful, but really I cannot take the credit. I cannot. My voice and these words that I share are not me. They're a great spirit channeling through me,
they really are.
um, through the work that I get to do with all of you. And so these prayers will be beautiful songs for everyone to sing. And I'm so excited.
I'm
This is my next baby.
I know. This song Mujeres de la Luna is so powerful. I'm like, last time we were like deep in a in a teepee with like 10 women deep in one line, and they're like singing that song, and I'm like looking around, and most of the women around us are moon dancers, and it's like we're all like, oh my God, so
Yeah.
beautiful. Oh, I can't wait to share that with you there also.
Mm,
Hopefully you can join us
mm.
next year.
Yes, I would
And,
love to.
yeah, and I can't tell you enough. Please follow Kata. She's also a beautiful community leader, and she runs amazing retreats. And so, yeah, Kata, what a special
Mm.
moment to have this
Thank
like
you,
little with
Sandra.
me. Thank you.
Thank you. It's such an honor. Thank you for having me in mind. And I also am so inspired by you and I admire you so much and everything that you're doing and you're creating. So
Thank you,
thank
sister.
you for having me.
Everybody, if this was interesting to you, if this stirred something in you, please subscribe to this channel and also stay connected with me. You can find my work at sandratrue.com or in super active on Instagram at sandratrue_. Thank you, everybody.